Let me share something that changed how I think about reading. The average person spends 2 hours watching Netflix daily, enough time to read The Martian, and yet we tell ourselves we don't have time to read. I used to think I was a slow reader too. Took me months to finish one book. Then I discovered something that completely flipped everything I knew about reading. What if I told you that most people are actually reading wrong? Reading a book a week isn't about reading faster or finding more time. It's about understanding how your mind actually works. Look, your brain can process information at 1,000 words per minute, but you're probably reading at 200. That's like driving a Ferrari in first gear. I'm about to show you why everything you learned about reading in school is holding you back, and the simple technique that let me go from struggling through one book a month to genuinely understanding and retaining a book every single week. It starts with understanding 3 fundamental truths about reading. Before that, let me tell you a story. You're probably like I was, you buy books with the best intentions, maybe even start reading them. But then life happens. Work gets crazy, Netflix calls your name, and suddenly that book you were excited about is gathering dust on your nightstand. Meanwhile, you're watching other people casually mention they just finished their 3rd book this month, and you're thinking, how the hell do they do that? The worst part? You start believing you're just not a reader, that maybe you don't have the focus or the time or whatever that special thing is that fast readers have. I used to tell myself the same lies. But here's what I discovered, and this completely changed everything for me. The problem isn't your attention span, and it's definitely not your intelligence. The problem is that nobody ever taught you how your brain actually wants to consume information. Stick with me for the next minute and a half, because I'm going to show you the exact system that took me from someone who felt guilty about unfinished books to someone who genuinely looks forward to learning something new every single week. And trust me, it's way simpler than you think. All right, here's the system that changed everything for me. 3 steps. First, pick smart. Second, read Retention Revolution. And third, lock it in. Step 1, pick smart. Here's where most people screw up. They grab whatever book looks interesting and dive in cover to cover. Wrong move. Before you read a single page, spend 5 to 10 minutes doing what I call the recon mission. Read the table of contents, skim the introduction, flip through, and read the first sentence of random paragraphs. Your brain needs a roadmap, not a surprise. This isn't cheating, it's how your brain actually learns best. Ask yourself, what's the one thing I want from this book? Because if you don't know that, reading becomes passive, and that's when your eyes glaze over by page 10. Step 2, read Retention Revolution. Most people believe memory works like a camera, capturing perfect snapshots of information. But your mind actually works more like an artist, creating connections between ideas, and once you understand this, retention becomes natural rather than forced. Think about a conversation you had with a close friend last week. You probably remember the key points effortlessly. You weren't taking notes or trying to memorize. You remember because you were fully engaged in the conversation. Reading can work exactly the same way. Here's what makes this principle so powerful. When you create an active dialogue with your books, your mind naturally builds connections and patterns. At this stage, you're going to add something called engagement layers. The first layer is mental noting. As you read, simply notice when something surprises you, confuses you, or connects to something you already know. Watch how this works in practice. When you encounter an interesting idea, pause for just a moment. Let your mind naturally connect to your own experience. You're not memorizing, you're creating. The second layer is conversational reading. Imagine you're having a conversation with the author. When they make a point, ask yourself, do I agree? Why or why not? What examples from my own life support or challenge this idea? And here's how to make it even more impactful. We're going to use connection points every time you finish a reading session. Take just 30 seconds to connect what you've just read to something you already know. You're building bridges between new information and existing knowledge. Retention isn't about forcing information into your memory. It's about creating an environment where forgetting becomes difficult, because everything you read connects to something you already know. Your mind isn't a bucket to be filled with information. It's a network that grows stronger with each new connection. Step 3. Lock it in. This is where everyone fails. They close the book and think they're done. Nope. Immediately after reading, grab a piece of paper and write down 3 things. What was the main point? What surprised you? What are you going to do about it? This takes 5 minutes, but makes the difference between forgetting everything in a week versus actually changing your life. But here's the thing nobody tells you about this system. There's one mistake that kills it completely, and most people make it without even realizing. But first, this whole system takes less time than scrolling social media for an hour. Reading a book a week isn't about being impressive or checking boxes. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't just consume information. You actually use it. You become someone who has answers, who sees connections others miss, who can hold real conversations about real ideas. The mistake I mentioned? It's thinking this is about reading faster. It's not. It's about thinking better. And once you start thinking better, everything else, your work, your relationships, your decisions, everything gets better too. If this helped you see reading differently, hit that like button. Seriously, it helps me know this stuff is actually useful. Now go pick up that book that's been staring at you and show it who's boss. Before wrapping up, here's today's comment of the day from the previous video. Shout out to you. Thank you for sharing something so real. That's what this channel's about. Not pretending everything's perfect, but choosing to move forward anyway. If you want your comment featured next, drop something honest, personal, or just your takeaway down below. I read every single one.